Hey everybody, DayTraderRockStar here, and we're going to be going over some of the ES setups over the last couple of days as a bonus video going out with the HPS watch list. Now, it is Thursday, tomorrow is Friday, December 20th, and the last few days the market has just continued to rally, new highs, higher lows. Today we had a little breakdown, but the market fought back really strong. I'll just bring that chart up as we're talking about it right now. That's GE. I'm also doing some research here. But if we take a look here on the, we take a look at the daily, you can see we started off a little lower and we closed back up. We actually ended in positive territory. This market is just unbelievable in the strength. It's it's okay to get a little pullback.
Tradometer overbought.
Oh, look at the market here. Actually, looks like the market's rallying right now overnight. Let's see what's going on here. Let me get the ES up here. Don't mind me. Come on. No, I don't see it. Actually, I thought I saw it on the tradometer. You're seeing the move here. That's moving up. This on the tradometer, it looks a little bit more intense. Take a look at the tradometer here. You can actually see just before we had a buy signal. Now we just hit the sell signal. It looks like a nice little ramp up here going into 8 o'clock. So everything here, don't forget the tradometer goes 24/7, or at least the one the markets are open. It's open, and it'll give you the good signals. But we prefer to use it between 9:30 and 4 o'clock. There's a couple of the indicators that don't go active until the open. So we have a formula that takes a little from the futures market, takes a little from the cash market. And when they all come together, that's when it performs the best. So between 9:30 and 4:30. But you will still get signals, but a little bit more basic signals overnight. But it still does give you those signals. And what we're going to look at is the overnight trade. We're going to start looking back. What I like to do is always go back and take a look at the divergence setups. We're divergence traders on ES, trading stocks and trading futures. And with the futures, it's basically one type of trade I'm looking for, and one type of trade that I teach. And until you can see anything better than that, you got to continue to believe that is absolutely the most fantastic setup out there in the markets. The problem is being able to recognize it, understanding that there's a rule for entry and there's a rule for your exit. Most people could understand the entry, but they can't understand the exit. And it's all about hitting those singles. Excuse me. Singles are where it's at in trading this way. This is more of a hyper scalper type of trade, but the technique is great. The strategy is excellent. The plan, the business plan is fine. The only weak part of it is the individual trader, like myself. Sometimes we don't pull the trigger when we see an obvious setup, or for some reason or not you think too much about market conditions, or you're just scared out of it. So that is something we're always constantly working on. But the setups, you can't deny them. We're going to go back. I'm going to show you what they look like. You're going to just say, yep, I understand. And tomorrow's going to come. I'm going to try to get my chart up on the screen. I know Paul does the show on Fridays, but I want to try to get the chart up on the screen and just take every single divergence. It'll be a little bit easier me not being on the mic, and I'll just be in the room with you traders. And that's why I'm trying to do some research tonight so I could actually have some of the free time tomorrow to trade, because these setups are great. So we're looking at the NQ right now, the 3-minute time frame. And I was messing around a way of putting on my charts where you actually see both the 3-minute and the 1-minute time frame side by side. Now I could set it up like that. I wasn't sure how it was going to look. Maybe make a 4-quadrant chart here. I like the big picture here. So I like the big picture. I'm able to see it. If it gets too tight like this, it just doesn't look the same. There's something about the way approaching the charts. Now, you might not see it, but I want to have this chart the NQ 1-minute chart is right above the other chart I have that you're looking at. So I'm putting it above here. I can get. I'm just dragging it up here. You won't see it's out off of your screen, but it's on my screen, the same size. So I have these charts next to each other, and I'll just switch back and forth to show you how good these setups are. So we have the 3 minute here, and I have the 1 minute above us. And we're going to look at the same time. We're going to start back here October 16th. Now I've been seeing a lot better signals on the 3 minute time frame, cleaner signals on the NQs than on the ES, but definitely a tighter channels, tighter candles. It works good. So let's just pretend we're going back and we're looking overnight. Not that we're going to be trading at 3 o'clock in the morning, but that's where I always start to look for these setups. A lot of people out there across seas, or you're up early. If you're up early and you're trading the overnight markets, this technique will work great for you, but you have to take it and apply it the right way. And don't forget, there's a nice course on the divergence on the schoolofstock.com. Schoolofstock.com. Everything's broken down for you on how to trade these, and a very detailed course that's always being added to. The first setup here, again, we talk about a double bottom divergence. Now, typically, again, I'll go over this real fast, what the criteria is. I always like to go back and just kind of show you the basics of this divergence. And again, we're talking about a bullish divergence right now, buy-side divergence going long on the futures. Typically happens when the market is pulling back. We'd like to have things in a larger time frame head in the direction of the divergence. So, normally we want to, if you're going to go long, we like to have the bigger trend be, of course, moving higher versus moving lower, going against the grain. So buy type of signals right here, you need that lower low and that higher low in the stochastics. Very simple. And my criteria requires you to have that second higher low above the 20 line. So when we talk about that, and here's the opposite for the bear side. Here in the bear side here, we're making higher highs on the price, but the stochastics make the lower high here, and that's very important. So that's basically what we're looking for, and and as the market here trades on, we're looking at that situation. Now there's another one that we don't talk about as much. It's called the double bottom divergence. It's usually where the market comes back, retests the previous low, but the stochastics still hold above that 20 line. Now in this case, you will find some that you're gonna what should I say? How should I say it? Kind of just want to take it because there's maybe not a lot of setups out there, and you start to see something that's very close to a double bottom. I usually, if we see something that has a nice steep line here, or a steeper trend line, it's definitely holding above that 20 line, which is down here on the buy side, and the price comes down close to the bottom but doesn't tag that bottom. You have to make a decision. Typically, this is very close to divergence. We sometimes look at our closing prices, and we see that chop, and lots of times this will play out. As long as the divergence is there, something's showing up. You're starting to see the strength coming on the stochastics here, even though the price is pulled back. So it's a little interpretation of the chart, being able to do it on. It's a little harder trade to call that because we're so used to sticking it in and saying, sticking it in. What does even that mean? Sticking to the... well, so much for that. So used to sticking to the criteria and waiting for that perfect setup. So once you see something that's not exactly perfect, you have to, you might still pull the trigger because this is a good setup, but it's not the perfect setup. And as you can see, a nice little pop here. Nice little pop. So we continue to look at this, and again, I'm going to be looking on the top for my 1 minute time frame too, but the 3 minute has definitely been a clean way of looking at the charts. If I bring down that 1 minute time frame, excuse me, you'll actually see that 1 minute time frame actually is a divergence at that same spot here, that 3 o'clock, 3:30 area. You can actually see the low here. Right here, even though it's not, but what's good here is that pullback and the higher low is definitely obvious on the 9 and on the 14 period. But this is actually the 60. 60 down here is actually even better. 60 is something that you don't get that divergence happen too much. But that was something I pay attention to also. we actually start to see the divergence show up here on the 60 back here. I didn't even notice this one. But it is. We'll go back to that one. So there, you had the 1 minute and the 3 minute sign up, and a nice move off of that. So that's the 1 minute time frame. I'm going to continue on. We're just going to grind through this. And I like just to watch the market like tick by tick and just replay it. It's a good way of training yourself. It's like going to batting practice. You know, you just go tick by tick. And actually, you can see it here. There's the 3 minute time frame. And here we have a small little, it's a very small little channel. You have this is the high here. Remember, when we get on here, depending on how you want to take this off, your rotation, a stochastic fast rotation based on your time frame, would your first rotation probably bring you up into this zone here. You did pop a little bit further, and you could probably measure that out on the 5 minute time frame to kind of see how far you want to take that. The 5 minute time frame. All right, and I'm not even seeing if the 5 minutes on this one. Oh, actually, it's off. The chart is off. We'll come back to that. I don't want to mess it up. All right, remember we said we could probably see one here. I was looking at, whenever I see this downward channel, that's what your eye starts to shift to, and you start to see these little channels. And when you see a little channel, lots of times that's kind of like the environment of a divergence where it's going to happen. So it's not a big channel here, but enough to, you know, to maybe start possibly looking at a low, a lower high, a lower low, a lower high, and then you start to come down here. And we took out that low here, right here. We took it out by a little, and you could see on the stochastics that we held above that 20 line compared to back here. So it did qualify for the divergence. And again, a situation like this, I mean, again, this is at 5:30 in the morning. Yeah, it did qualify. I mean, if it's important to understand that if you identify them, easy enough just to put your order in and get what it gives you. You know, if you get a bad fill here and it moves, it chops around. Again, your stop should go right underneath the candle low, tick under the candle low, and your rotation. You know, you're looking at, and whenever you have a channel, and lots of times these divergences happen in a channel, then you're looking for a breakout of that channel. So that helps you on your, you know, determining your profit target. Lots of times you're going to see that divergence just show up, and it's going to break out of any type of downward channel. So that's always a directional trade, and that's what it looks like, just like that, time and time again. But now we see one here, and I just noticed before. Let's take a look here. Market here breaking around. I'm just looking, waiting for things going on. 7:30 coming into pre-market, real pre-market. And again, this is a few days ago. I'm not seeing anything here. I'm going to go on the 1 minute time frame up here. You're not going to be able to see it. I'm just going to catch up to my time frame, 7:30. And you know, I don't know if you want to consider this up here a little divergence where we talked about having that double top on the closing prices. You know, and sometimes that candle right there, you see that closing price and that lower high on the stochastics there. You could have maybe, you know, had an argument there of a little double top. You can see it on a 1 minute time frame also at 6:30. Also, so sometimes if you see it on both the 1 minute and the, you know, in this case you can see the candle there, that kind of a double top. And you can actually see the divergence holding underneath that 80 line right there. So it's another situation where you have a divergence and you have that follow through to the downside. And our goal is to show each one of these no matter what happens. And if you start to see that setup play out over and over again, you can see now what we're talking about. Nice move up. I mean, what's the potential there? What's the potential here? What's the potential here? Now things are getting a little wicked here because the market's open up, and this is typically where news comes out, 8:30, 9 o'clock. So with news coming out, you have a better chance of those spikes, major spikes and reversals, and a lot of volatility, both good and negative. It's a positive and a negative for divergences. Lots of times you'll see divergences, and lots of times you'll get chopped up here in this zone. And I actually think we have a failure here on the divergence, and we don't see them that often. So I want to try to point it out. And it's right about here. Let me see. I'm looking at this high and this double top there, and then we have a series of lower highs here. So we have a kind of a double top at 60. If you put that stop right above that level, we'll do a couple more ticks here, and you can see we actually popped, pulled back a little, chopped, and then pushed back up aggressively. Now, again, an area where I don't know if there was news out here that came out. I don't know what. I don't have my volume chart on here. Also, I should put a volume chart on this one. But you can see this actually was a double bottom, double top, and a reversal and a breakout. So this would actually qualify as a failure, and I think you would have definitely gotten stopped out of this. But your stop would have it's not the end of the world here. Your stop is very tight. The setups are clean, and it was and look what happened at the open. So the open comes in, and then all of a sudden we see another divergence play out. So lots of time that second time that divergence plays out, I really pay attention to it. And I think we actually took this trade. I took that short here, and it dropped, and we took it off. It dropped even further. I mean, it was actually a very good short on that divergence, and that happened right at 10 o'clock. We'd like those divergences to show up at that time frame. And just to remember, this was a 2.5 point trade. It didn't it's not a lot to get 2 points out of the NQs on the right setup, especially on a divergence setup. 1 point, 2 points on these fast rotations. 2 points is definitely doable. And if you have multiple contracts, then you're dealing with, if you take them both off, you're up, your first trade, you're trading about $100 every 2 contracts for every 2 points. Or two and a half points. But all right, so let's see what happens here. And then we started getting very choppy, starting to turn back up. Again, we're only looking for one setup, though. All right, well, we move back up, and if you you're not seeing a divergence here, but again, if we take our 1 minute time frame and we actually bring it down here, all of a sudden we're able to see a different setup on the 1 minute. Here we actually you can see there's a high and a little higher high here. And then you have the high and the lower high, which basically is above that 80 line. That's the 14.3, the 9.3, a little bit faster and a little bit right on that line. Again, you have to make a decision at this point. Do you take that divergence if it's on the line, or do you wait for it to be under
tradeometer overbought?
You can see the results from that. I mean, it did break down eventually. It didn't get anywhere higher than the previous high, or the candlestick high there that represents your stop. All right, as you can see here, we come into this time frame where I don't know what was going on. I think I was so frustrated with the market going sideways. We just started trading the chop, and that's the one thing that I always force people not to do. I said, be careful with trading the chop. The market is just grind out phase here, and that's what happens. You get grinded out. You can see they're very short trades. Some of them worked, some of them didn't, but there was no reason to get in. There was no divergence there. There was nothing there. That was me falling out of my, my discipline here broke down. I remember that day. I said, Jesus, why am I even attempting to, capture a top on this? I don't know if there was a couple longs here too, a couple good trades, but there was no reasoning behind it. I think it was just out of boredom, and that's important to catch yourself, because this is a business, and you don't just make random just go off the plan like that. But you can see the embedded stochastic up here. Everything was pointed to upside. This market eventually ramped up, and from that point on, we actually closed out. And then the overnight trade came, and the same thing goes on as we continue to look. The market here overnight, not really anything really exciting happening. then we get in here 12 o'clock. And then remember, we talk about if you are going to trade the overnight, you're maybe a foreign trader, definitely 3 o'clock is where you want to be focused around. 3 o'clock and any time after that. I wouldn't bother too much. Don't waste your time. And again, you could see this, I think, was a Sunday. Going into Monday now. Or no, it's 12 o'clock. What happened here? Where's my data? I don't know what's happening with that chart there, but we'll just continue. We'll catch up wherever. All right. So here about 12 o'clock, actually, you actually see a divergence. And again, I wasn't around for 12 o'clock divergences, but it was a good one. And if there is ever a time where we're going to have overnight news and things get a little bit more volatile, be it Korea or something going on, yeah, you can make some money. You just have to wait for that same setup. Here we had that divergence setup, and look at the nice move, 13 to 16, 3-point move. You probably could have got a point or two out of this. The divergence showing you that. Market here again. Breaking down. I think this is actually this morning. Yeah, this is this morning. We broke down. And what happened to all my other charts? I have to bring up, maybe it's on the other. Oh, that's because it was the 3-minute time frame. All right. I see what I did here. I ran through the all the way up to today, and this was this morning here where we had that news on Spain. There was some news on Apple. There was just some things that dropped the market around 4 o'clock. And from that point on, we bounced back up. 8:30, 9 o'clock here coming into Thursday. Things started to get interesting. We start to pinpoint those divergences again. They really start to show up today. The first divergence is a textbook 3-minute divergence right at 9:30, and we see those around there at 9:30. Nice run down. Now I'm going to go take a look at the 1-minute time frame here just to make sure. It's at 9:30. Yeah, right at this level again. Both of these time frames. If you don't see it on the 3-minute time frame, make sure you're looking at that 1-minute time frame. We had a 3-minute divergence here and also a 1-minute divergence. A really good key divergence right here. This was the big one. And a big move off of that. Now, if you take a look here, you have a low here and a lower low. And it's a lot of chop going on. Not to say you're going to get it. You already start to see the stochastics here starting to hold that 20 line as we start to grind down here. But between this low and this low, you have this low and this pretty decent divergence holding above that 20 line. So we actually get a divergence. The stop goes underneath the low candle, and from that point on, actually get a nice trade to the upside. And then from there on, we actually were looking at this. Couple interesting trades. Got this pullback off of this. It was a chop fest up here too. Again, we want to look at that's the 1-minute time frame. I want to look again at the 3-minute time frame. I'm going to show you the setups. And that was a 3-minute divergence. You can see back here. And look at that nice move off of that. This was a perfect divergence. This was a perfect divergence. These smaller time frame little things were 1-minute time frame divergences. I could show you those after. That was another 3-minute. Look at the nice move down. And again, this is about 12:30. Let's take a look and see if we could actually recognize that divergence on the 1-minute time frame. See, whenever I put that, you can't really see anything here. It just looks like a rotation. But if you have that 3-minute overextended and you have a 1-minute sell side divergence, remember that time frame right there is about 12:15 to 12:30. Here's 12:15. Here's the 1230. Here's your 9.3. Here's your high, and there's your lower high. Here's your blue line. Again, I'm not saying that we're going to be able to pick all these. This was kind of, a strange day with the market here selling off early and then building ourselves back up. So the bias was the upside. So it had been very hard to, trying to analyze and take all these shorts. But I just want to point those out. I didn't take that. And that was on the 1 minute time frame. And then I think there was another one. And again, you did have a rotation here. I did work out to the downside. And everything on the 1 minute time frame goes along with that time frame rotation. Just as simple as that, What do we see? Whenever we see a potential channel, it's just something that comes in. When you see this potential pullback and you see maybe 3 or 4 tests of the trend line or the channel line, you could make this a falling wedge or whatever. As you get down here and you get that lower low, you start to analyze that. And as you can see right here, that 9.3, I want to see if it shows up on the 9.3 here. It was a very nice channel line divergence. It's a strong setup. It wasn't on the 14.3. It was on the 9.3, though, from that low down to this low. I think we pointed that out. I just want to also bring up the other chart here for a second. See if you could actually see that. That is at 2:30. Here's a 2:30. And no divergence found on the 3 minute time frame, but you did see it on the 1 minute time frame. And again, you see it work, right? I mean, if you're going back to that 1 minute time frame, if you're give me an argument, show me that this is not the most accurate entry system here. So we continue looking at that 1 minute. We're also looking at the 3 minute. I'll just finish up on the 1 minute. This is actually right now. So we came out, we busted a move to the upside. This even looks, again, you could actually start to smell these out. Whenever you have these kind of a pullback, you have a pivot here, a pivot area here, a pivot area here, a pivot area here. That's what we call a 1, 2, 3 pattern. And when you have a 1, 2, 3 pattern, you tend to test 4, and that 4 is a representative of that channel. And if you have a channel, you're looking for a divergence. And yes, you do have that divergence there. So that divergence predicts the channel breakout. This one's a little bit better. This one's holding above the 20, but holding it on the 20 here too. Still, it was a divergence here on the 9.3. A little stronger divergence, I would say, too. And a nice move up off of that. So this is where we are leaving off tonight. So what time is it? Almost 9 o'clock. I mean, we're not looking for anything to happen right now until about 3 o'clock in the morning. But I want to get this out showing you how important it is to apply that. Even if you're trading stocks, that's fine too. You can apply these to the stocks. I did some scans today. I'm going to put that video is coming out tomorrow. The HPS video with new setups. I'll tell you what, there's a couple new ones on there. GE is going to make an appearance on a weekly divergence. Philip Morris looks very interesting. MDT is still a nice setup, and a lot more that are already on the list is going to be reviewed on the next video. So I want to get this out, just show you the importance of remembering. Stick to the plan, stick to the business plan. If you have any questions, definitely shoot me up. Hit me up. Don't shoot me up. My mouth is on a different course this evening. See? So like Alexa. Alexa, you there?
Yes, I'm here. I listen once I hear the wake word.
Are you kidding me? Now that everyone's gone? Everyone is gone, Alexa, and now you decide to talk to me. There's no proof. I got you on. I recorded your voice, Alexa, just like you record mine. Sorry about that, people. It's a long story. If you're a part of Day Trading Radio, then you understand. If not, well, go over to Day Trading Radio. We're doing an open house. Also, if you're interested in more on the divergence setups, check out the course I have on theschoolofstock.com, a great divergence course. You can ask any questions you want over there also. And get in touch with me here at daytradingradio.com. All right, signing off. We'll see you in the markets tomorrow. We're not going to miss any of these divergence setups.